Canvas. You don't have to download it if you want to or not, it's your choice, because it's on Canvas, you can pull it up or not. But you always have the documentation that we're going to talk about on Canvas. So tonight we're discussing chapter 4 of that workbook, and that is these horizontal angles. So I'm gonna level this thing up because Kaysen did a close enough job getting over the point. I'm not too worried about being over the point at the moment because we want to demonstrate how this total station works. Okay, now we are level. So here is our total station. This is a Spectra Precision, is the brand name, and the model number is a TS415. So the components of this total station, we have the carrying handle, we have the battery. In this particular case, there is a second battery stored in the case. So we have our battery that mounts onto the side. We have a release button that we can release that battery, and then it comes, you tilt it out, and then you can exchange the second battery if the battery on it goes dead. And then it just snaps back into place. Okay? So we have the battery, then we have the telescope focusing ring, which is this outer ring out here. And once again, this works the same way as the optical plummet. You have two focusing. You have the one right in here for the crosshairs, and then you have this one for the distance focusing. So the first thing that you want to do when you look through it is focus the crosshairs so that they're dark, and you can get them to a point where they're dark and then go past it and then come back. So fine tune it so that it adjusts to your eye. And then this is the focus for the distance. So we have the vertical tangent screw, which has its own vertical clamp or lock. And so anytime that you are trying to search for where that person is out in the field, you want to have both your clamps or locks released so that you can adjust it in any way. Earlier, somebody asked, what is this thing up on top? I don't think it even shows it there, but that's a rough sight. If you look through that, if you get it just right, inside it there's a little white triangle. And you'll take that little white triangle and you'll look out to where, whatever you're trying to sight, whether it's your back sight or whether it's the person out in the field, you'll get it close. You'll then set your clamps, and then you can use the adjustment screw, vertical and horizontal, to fine tune to where you're right in the center of the crosshairs. Okay, then you have the screen right here. Let's see, do I have display screen? Do I have my next slide that, well, basically just shows the other side. So we've gone through all of the circular or bird's eye bubble. We went through the leveling plate, the optical plummet, our leveling screws. We're all set. So the next thing that we want to do, oh, it does show it right there. Optical sight finder is what it calls it. That's just kind of your long range sight, your rough sight. So the next thing that you're going to do in operating this total station is you're going to turn it on. And right up here in the upper right hand corner, now you'll notice that this thing has two faces, a forward face and a backward face. The scope has the ability to go both directions. It can spin all the way around. You don't do any damage to it by turning it one way or another. However, it has a forward face, and the forward face has all the controls on the front screen. The backwards face doesn't. And then it puts your screws, your adjustment screws, on opposite sides. The main operating position is in this forward face. The power button is in this upper right hand corner. So we're going to press the power button. And you heard it beep, right? Now if I look on the screen is telling me to tilt the scope. So basically what that's doing is it's just saying, okay, I want to know just kind of where you're going to be functioning. So you just take the scope and you tilt it just like that. And then the next thing that comes up after I tilt the scope is it goes through all of these steps right here. As you tilt the scope, it's going to say the horizontal angle is initialized. If we were sitting there watching, we would have saw it. We can set, you guys asked earlier about if temperature matters. This is a point where temperature matters. So at this point, we can actually set or change the temperature. And the way that we would change the temperature, it says that we're going to press either the up or down arrow. So we're going to press the up, here's the arrows right down here. We're going to press the up arrow. Come on, get to where I want you to be. No, you're just going around and around and around.
Press the ENT button.
Press the what button?
ENT. Whatever that is on the second side of the end.
I'm going to try this button here. Yeah, that's the one. So up at the very top, there's one that says menu. You can press the menu button. The menu button then allows me to go through different settings. Let's see if it shows it on here. Nope. Okay. For practical purposes, what each one of you are going to be doing is you're going to never need to set the temperature, because your distance is out there. You're not going to get out past 300 feet. Barometric pressure and temperature will start to affect your measurement once you get out around 1,000 feet or greater. So, but the point that we want to cover is that this machine has the ability that you can set the temperature so that, once again, you have a more precise measurement. You won't need to ever set the temperature or change it. So we're just going to escape out of there and back into our normal screen. So what we've done is we've turned the machine on, we've tilted the scope to initiate it, and now on our screen we have the main menu screen. And right down here you have arrow keys. And you have up or down arrow keys. If you press those arrow keys, the center of the screen is going to change what reading you're going to get once you take a reading. So the particular one that I'm in, it says that I have horizontal left, so the screen that I'm in right now, instead of saying HA, horizontal angle, it says horizontal left. And then it says vertical percent. And then it says horizontal distance. Where this one says horizontal angle, vertical angle, and slope distance is what that's saying. So if I don't like the reading that it's given me, then I just press my up arrow or down arrow. Now I pressed my down arrow key, and what it's showing me is northing, easting, and it says N, E, and Z. So it's telling me what the northing, easting, and elevation is. If you're going to use that screen, you need to have set what the northing, easting, and elevation is of the point that you're occupying. That screen's not going to do you any good unless you know what it is that you're occupying. So then, if that's not the screen that I want, I press the next down arrow, Now as I press that down arrow, I have that exact screen right there. Press my down arrow again, and it says that I have HA, and instead of vertical angle, it says vertical difference, or VD for vertical difference. So instead of recording the angle, it's going to tell you the difference in, and I don't like using the VD because I saw Jeremiah's face when I said that. And so it tells you the vertical difference between you and the shot that you took. And it says horizontal distance. If I press the down arrow again, it says horizontal left, vertical percent. So now I'm back to where I started. So this particular total station has the ability to have different readouts in what you shoot. Okay? All right. So now, once I'm in that screen, I decided which screen that I wanted, and I'm going to... Ben?
Yeah.
Do you have your card with you?
I don't.
Who has their student card with them? Jake, right? Will you go in there and grab one of those rods that has the mirror on the top? So I want to be in the screen that says horizontal angle, vertical difference, and horizontal difference. So I just scroll through and I toggle through until I get to that screen. Now, one of the things that you guys are going to do once you're out there, just prop it back in a corner back there, if you would, for me. Perfect, thank you. Good?
Yep.
All right. So one of the things that you guys are going to do when you're out there on the course is you're going to turn these interior angles or exterior, whichever exercise you're on. In order to give yourself a good double check, you can turn setting up on A, backsighting B, and turning to G, you'll come up with this interior angle. You can then change the display on your screen. You don't even have to take a shot again because it's already recorded it. Change the display on the screen to where it says horizontal left, and then you'll record this angle. So if you're setting up on A and you're backsighting B and then you turn to G, it's going to turn a horizontal right angle. So it's actually going to measure that angle right there.
Can I say that again?
So if you're setting up on A and you sight B and you turn the angle to G, the angle that it's going to display if you are in horizontal angle is a right angle. In other words, it's going to record the angle going to the right. And that's your exterior angle, correct?
Is it always going to go right?
What's that?
It's always going to go right? Always go clockwise?
If you use the screen that says HA. Okay? You can toggle through your menu and you can use the screen that says HL, which would then be horizontal left. So then it would record this angle. That's the angle that you're recording. So if you're out on the course and you're trying to measure these angles and you want to measure the interior angles, then you might have to toggle between different screens to get the correct angle that you want. So if I'm set up on B and I'm backsighting A and I'm turning to C, the interior angle is now a right angle. Okay? So this has the ability to give you a readout. So in either horizontal right or horizontal left. All you have to do is use these up and down arrow keys to get to the screen that you want. So the first thing that we're going to do, let's go back to our total station. So this just explains turning the thing on and off, on and off. So we can hit the power button. To turn it off, it says press enter to turn it off. So then you press enter. So enter is down here, it's this blue key. Each one of these keys are labeled, so you can read them on there. The bottom right hand one says enter. It says press enter to turn it off, and now it turned off. So you can put it into sleep mode if you're taking a long time in between shots and you don't want to waste battery. The manual shows you how to put it into sleep mode. So here's how we toggle between the different display screens. You use the up or down arrows until you get to the screen that you want. It also has a onboard automatic level display. So you can actually go into the settings and pull up, and it'll actually show you electronically what it's digitized as level. You can take a look at that if you want. That's up to you. You don't ever need it. But these are things that the total station does for itself. So essentially, really what's happening in this particular scenario is looking at the onboard level as opposed to the plate level and the bird's eye that you used, is the total station has it built into it its own compensator. And so essentially what the machine is going to do is it's going to say, within this circle right here, I can compensate for being that much out of level. It'll automatically, in its process, correct any correction within that level. If you get outside of that compensation, you'll get an error screen on your screen when you try to take a reading that says you're out of compensation. But as long as you stay within that, the electronics in this automatically compensates for it. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take a measurement. We want to turn an angle, and actually this is a total station, so it also shoots distance. So we're going to turn the power on. I heard it beep. I look at the screen, it tells me to tilt the scope. So I tilt the scope. Then I release both my locks. I use my long range sight. I turn to where I'm close. I lock down the clamps, both horizontal and vertical. And then, like something out of a science fiction movie, trying to use the wrong hand, I adjust it. See, I really do have a new appreciation for left-handed people. The world was created for right-handed people. Okay, so I fine-tuned, and I've got myself on that prism pole down there. The next thing that I want to do is I want to set or zero set my angle. At the bottom of the display, so in setting the angle, at the bottom of the display, and it's not showing it, dang it. Let's see if we can find one that does. Okay, at the very bottom down here, oh, and of course I'm right behind it. Right down here is a button that says angle, A-N-G. So with the machine turned on, I press that angle button. And now it gives me two options. It says zero set or input angle. So I can then use my up or down key. I can scroll up or down to the whichever one I want to do. I'm going to go to 0 set, and then I'm going to hit enter. So now, as I look on my display screen, that HA says 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So now what I want to know is, what is the angle from that prism pole, which we're going to say is A or B, to one of the other points over here, and I'll sight it, and if we're out on our course, we've got one of our crew members is setting on our back sight with a range pole. The other crew member is on our foresight with the prism pole. So I turn to the individual with the prism pole, lock it down, fine tune, and then I look on this screen and it tells me that I have a horizontal angle of 275, 1939. That was an exterior angle. So now if I toggle through my menus until I see where my menu display says HL, I now have an interior angle of 84 degrees, 40 minutes, and 21 seconds. So without having to take another reading, all that information is already there. Okay? So those are the processes that you're going to use in using this total station. Very easy once you get it set up. Setting it up's the hard part. You push the power button. Right now it tells me to press enter to turn it off. When you first get set up and you're set up where you want to be, you press the power button to turn it on. Make sure the lock is released. You tilt the scope. You've got the display shows up. You turn to your back sight. You press the angle button, and then you press the 0 set button, and now the display says 0. Then you can turn your other angle, and then you can toggle through to get either horizontal right, HA, or horizontal left. Okay, any questions? Yes, sir.
What if you're surveying something and you don't know where your end point is?
Okay.
So on the example, you don't know where G is, and you're starting on A.
Okay.
Do you just measure the distance?
Okay, that's a great question. So let's go back to that. And let's determine what our knowns are. Okay. So I'm setting up on A,
Yeah,
and I'm backsighting B,
right.
and I do not know where G is at all.
You don't know where any of the other points are.
Do I know mathematically where they're supposed to be?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So let's say I'm doing somebody's property survey, or let's say I'm doing some layout for construction, and I know what these interior angles are supposed to be. What I can do is then set up on A. I found A and B, backsight B, 0 set, and then turn and watch the angle on the display until it displays the angle that I know it's supposed to be. And then I can lock it down, and then I can have the person with the prism pole give me a shot. I'll put him online. I don't move the total station now at this point because I'm on the angle that I want. I tell my person with the prism pole, give me a shot. Go to your left, right, okay, stop right there. Then he stops, he plumbs it up, he gives me a shot. It tells me what the distance is. I said, okay, now you've got to go away 20 more feet. So then he walks away 20 more feet. right, left, till you get him on line. You do that same process until you're at your exact horizontal angle and your exact horizontal distance.
Are those angles measured in tenths?
Angles, great question. Angles are measured in degrees, minutes, and seconds. That is why in our opening class, I recommended that you get a calculator or download an app or find one on your computer that will add and subtract degrees, minutes, and seconds. And this gun, this instrument, has the ability to have a readout to a half of a second. So that's what that's saying. 40 degrees, 29 minutes, 11 and a half seconds. So that's the reason for that calculator, so it'll measure in those. The other option, which this machine will not do, would be degrees and decimals of a second. So instead of being 40, 29, 11, 5, it would be 40.48 something, because 29 is almost 50 in decimals of a degree. But this machine does not have the ability to do that. There's not one out there I know of that does. So it's in degrees, minutes, and seconds. Okay, any questions? Comments? Okay, let's move on. So when you're looking through the scope, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see crosshairs in the scope. And you want to sight this prism pole so that your crosshairs are exactly right in the center of that. Actually, the most preferred way to sight for horizontal angles is as far down the pole as possible. And the reason for that is, the reason you want to sight down as far as possible is because if the person holding the prism pole was out really late last night and tied a few more on than they should have, and he's standing there and he's looking down at the bubble with one eye and the pole's leaning like this, the top of the prism is not actually where the angle is, because he better be on the point on the bottom. The point on the bottom is where your point in the ground is. But then you adjust it up to here to where you see this right in the center, and then that's when you can tell it to measure, and that will take a horizontal distance once you measure. Okay, so if you look down on the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of our display or our front-facing mount, right down here you have measure 1 and measure 2. The difference between measure 1 and measure 2 is measure 1 will take a measurement of, I think it's about 5 different measurements, and then stop. And then store on the display what that measurement is. Measurement 2 will just continue to take a reading. About every half a second, it will readjust what its reading is. So if you got a guy out there, and you guys are going to find out when you get out there, it's difficult to hold that precisely still. So if you're wanting to try to get extremely precise measurements, you'll turn it to measurement 2, and then you'll just kind of watch what the changes are. You'll come up, and when it takes its reading, this display will continue to change. It'll change just minutely. And so you'll watch that, and like I said, if you're trying to take a really precise reading, you'll sit there and you'll watch that, and in your mind, you'll take the average of what it is. And then you'll hit measurement 1, and it'll take a series of, I think, 3 to 5 measurements, and then stop and then store it. And it just doesn't keep trying to shoot them. And then you can write the information down that you recorded. So that's the difference. That's how we take a measurement out there. Is we'll use measurement 1 or measurement 2. Most likely 90% of the time, 99% of the time, you're going to use measurement 1. Okay, any questions? Everybody comfortable with that? Now, as you go on Canvas, or either on Canvas in the lecture notes, this information is there. Let's just take a look at it. For you to review, and files, and then you go under lectures, and then tonight we talked about horizontal measurement. No, that was the wrong one. This is what we did last time. So you'll see in here PDFs showing what a typical notes looks like. We're not going to see that. That's the answers. You're welcome.
Hey Tiago, can I get a copy of that video?
Yeah, absolutely. You notice over here it says that that's unpublished. You're welcome. So right here is essentially a PDF of the PowerPoint that we went through earlier. And then also right here, that's the PowerPoint. Here's your taking care of your total station. And then last one right here is how to take a measurement. Okay? Any questions? Okay, so you have the option right now to either practice setting up total station, take a few measurements, or go home. What your choice. If you want to stay and set it up some more, I'll stay here with you to give you some advice and instructions. If you're comfortable, you feel good about it, you can go